An assembly. Oh, come along. I'd rather not. Don't be such a fuddy-duddy. I am not a fuddy-duddy. Can you be so sure? A man can never be entirely sure that he is not a fuddy-duddy. That is axiomatic to the term. Exactly. In this manner, Nina coerced the Count to join her on one of her favourite excursions, spying from the balcony of the ballroom. The Count was reluctant to accompany Nina on this particular journey for two reasons. First, the ballroom's balcony was narrow and dusty, and to stay out of sight one was forced to remain hunched behind the balustrade, a decidedly uncomfortable position for a grown man over 6 feet tall. The last time the Count had accompanied Nina to the balcony, he had torn the seam of his pants, and it took 3 days for him to lose the crick in his neck. But second, this afternoon's gathering was almost certain to be another assembly. Over the course of the summer, the assemblies had been occurring at the hotel with increasing frequency. At various times of day, small groups of men would come barreling through the lobby, already gesticulating, interrupting, and eager to make their points. In the ballroom, they would join their brethren milling shoulder to shoulder, every other one of them puffing on a cigarette. As best as the Count could determine, the Bolsheviks assembled whenever possible, in whichever form, for whatever reason. In a single week, there might be committees, caucuses, colloquiums, congresses, and conventions variously coming together to establish codes, set courses of action, levy complaints, and generally clamour about the world's oldest problems in its newest nomenclature. If the Count was reluctant to observe these gatherings, it was not because he found the ideological leanings of the attendees distasteful. He would no sooner have crouched behind a balustrade to watch Cicero debating Catiline, or Hamlet debating himself. No, it was not a matter of ideology. Simply put, the Count found political discourse of any persuasion to be tedious. But then, wasn't that exactly what a fuddy-duddy would argue? Needless to say, the Count followed Nina up the stairs to the second floor. Having skirted the entrance to the Boyarsky and ensured the coast was clear, they used Nina's key to open the unmarked door to the balcony. Down below, 100 men were already in their chairs, and another 100 were conferring in the aisles, as 3 impressive fellows took their seats behind a long wooden table on the dais. Which is to say, the assembly had nearly assembled. As this was the 2nd of August, and there had already been 2 assemblies earlier that day, the temperature in the ballroom was 91 degrees. Nina skirted out behind the balustrade on her hands and knees. When the Count bent over to do the same, the seam in the back of his pants gave way again. "Mad," he muttered. "Shh," said Nina. The first time the Count had joined Nina on the balcony, he couldn't help but feel some astonishment at how profoundly the life of the ballroom had changed. Not 10 years before, all of Moscow society would have been gathered in their finery under the grand chandeliers to dance the mazurka and toast the Tsar. But after witnessing a few of the assemblies, the Count had come to an even more astonishing conclusion, that despite the revolution, the room had barely changed at all. At that very moment, for example, 2 young men were coming through the doors looking game for the fray. But before exchanging a word with a soul, they crossed the room in order to pay their respects to an old man seated by the wall. Presumably, this elder had taken part in the 1905 revolution, or penned a pamphlet in 1880, or dined with Karl Marx back in 1852. Whatever his claim to eminence, the old revolutionary acknowledged the deference of the 2 young Bolsheviks with a self-assured nod of the head, all the while sitting in the very chair from which the Grand Duchess Anapova had received the greetings of dutiful young princes at her annual Easter ball. Or consider the charming-looking chap who, in the manner of Prince Tetrakov, was now touring the room, shaking hands and patting backs. Having systematically made an impression in every corner, with a weighty remark here and a witty remark there, He now excused himself for just a moment. But once through the door, he will not reappear. For having ensured that everyone in the ballroom has noted his attendance, he will now head off to an altogether different sort of assembly, one that is to take place in a cosy little room in the Abbat. Later, no doubt, some dashing young Turk who is rumoured to have Lenin's ear will make a point of arriving when the business of the evening is nearly done, just as Captain Radjanko had when he had the ear of the Tsar, thus exhibiting his indifference to the smaller conventions of etiquette, while reinforcing his reputation as a man with so much to attend to and so little time to attend to it.